Hey, everybody, this is Patty. Welcome to the Witching Hour. I have a very special guest for us today. We're going to get to know him together, but I've been really excited that he's going to come on the show. So let me tell you just a little bit about him. His name is Cal Melkez. He is a renowned spiritual life coach and shaman whose expertise in astral projection and magic has guided countless individuals on their path to spiritual awakening. With a background in psychology, Cal brings a unique perspective to understanding human consciousness, integrating scientific principles with ancient esoteric knowledge, and on and on and on. But let's meet him ourselves. Thank you so much, Cal. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been extremely excited to come onto the show lately. It's the fulfillment of lots of coincidences and serendipity and synchronicities. So it's no accident that we're meeting right now and having this conversation. So I'm interested to see where spirit takes us.
Yeah, me too, very much so, because I know you had even mentioned some synchronicities, everything from my regular work on ghost adventures, and you have a relative for the demon house, and then I was recommended to you from a podcast we had both done. It's just all coming together like this. So we can get to know each other a little bit. Tell us, before even how your background came, tell us a little bit about your philosophy of life. Again, it is so brilliant to me. I know that's a really big question to start out with, but
Perfect. I find that the biggest questions can be broken down. So simple ones I try to avoid sometimes.
okay, good.
I like the bigger questions. Life philosophy. I have been consumed with this idea and pursuit of connection to source through this energy that we all feel. You can call it goosebumps, you can call it chills, shivers, whatever the case may be. That feeling you get when energy is running through you, when you're watching a movie or you're listening to a beautiful piece of music and this energy washes over you. I have been deeply connected to connecting with that and helping other people to do so. And I believe connecting with this energy, in other spiritual traditions, it's called vril or life force or chi or prana, things like this. This life force energy, when you connect with it, that's when psychic abilities happen. That's when you start to tap into magic. And when you persist, when you abide in it for long enough, you start to expand your consciousness very naturally. These are all very natural things, and they've actually been studied scientifically. So I've just been enamored by this topic. I love it so much because when I teach people how to do it, they're like, I've never felt this before, like feeling my energy for the first time. And since we're going down that road, would you care if I shared a meditation or a technique really
No,
quick?
please share a meditation.
Excellent.
Yes.
For those new and for those even seasoned and experienced, one way to feel your energy for the first time, some people may have heard of the energy ball technique. I do something that was made famous by a man named Robert Bruce. He's since passed, but he has an excellent body of work. He does something called body awareness tactile imaging, which is a long way of saying you're putting your awareness in your body, and that naturally allows your energy to flow. So one of the first things you can do is you can just take the palm of your hand and you can just scratch the center of your hand, just so that you can feel that residual sensation when you stop, right? So you scratch the palm of your hand, you feel that residual, tingle sort of sensation. Now I want you to run your hand down and scratch the palm of your hand. And when you stop, try to feel that residual sensation. Now I want you to imagine as though you're feeling that scratching, even though it's not happening, and observe what happens to your hand inside of your hand. Most people, when they focus, they feel a pressure, a tingling, this sort of movement sensation. Now take your awareness and imagine as though you're just brushing over it lightly. Don't actually do it. Just feel it. Feel it in your mind. And that is one of the first ways people can experience it. Tap into their energy consciously. After that, you basically take that feeling in your hand and you transfer it to your whole arm. What does the inside of your arm feel like? The inside of your hands? What does the inside of your chest feel like? As you go deep into this sort of body awareness, you start to see that you're not turning something on, more so as you're reconnecting to something that's been flowing the whole time. Life force energy is always going. We just need to tap back into it. So, a long way of saying That's my life philosophy. Staying connected to source.
That is beautiful. And I, again, very similar, different probably words and things, but in my teaching, in my school and things, I always go, where do you feel that in your body? Where is that within your body? So now you've taken it very much, you work very much with astral projection and I mean, even your podcast is an astral mind podcast. So how did this, I could touch my hand, I could touch my hand when I'm not touching my hand, turn into astral projection? And what do you see as, why do we want to do that?
Well, first off, this energy, this small introductory to it, is just the tip of the iceberg, the very tip. When we were not even touching the iceberg. This is preliminary sort of work. When you increase that energy through conscious effort and awareness, then you start to experience the expansion of your consciousness and you will progressively start to astral project. The first time I astral projected, it was after 2 years of trying. It was a difficult process to get there. I didn't have a teacher or a guru. Everything was kind of like feeling around in the dark. You know, I was getting close, but not quite there. But after those 2 years, I had found the right technique. I share that in my book, along with many other meditation techniques. And I had this experience where I woke up in the middle of the night and I suddenly felt this rushing of that same energy, those chills, but this was like chills on 10. This was like being on the giant drop or, the American Eagle. It was like a being on a giant roller coaster, suddenly all the G-force hitting me. And it scared the heck out of me. I didn't know what was going on. I was shocked and I thought I had done something wrong. This sensation was so strong and so paralyzing that I thought I was going to die. It kept ramping up and ramping up. And I said to myself, I can't take any more of this. If this continues, I'm going to die. And at that moment, I felt hands grab my shoulders and pull me out of my body. It was like if you were wearing a onesie and it was wet and you were trying to pull it off of yourself, this electric, watery sort of sensation. And there I was on the floor. I didn't know what happened. I got up, looked around the room. There was like a slight bluish tint to everything. And, I looked down at the bed and there I am in the bed. And I'm seeing myself and I was just completely shocked, but I knew I had finally done it. And I knew then two things. One thing, something helped me get out of body. The second thing, that energy I was feeling facilitated my transition to being ready to be pulled out of body. Now, I feel like that thing, that spirit, whatever it was that pulled me out of body is deeply researched. It's deeply held in spiritual traditions all the way back to Egypt. And I can go into a little bit more of that as we progress, but I feel like those two things are important: the guarding and the guiding spirit and this energy. Now, why do we want to astral project? One of the main things people ask me is, if I astral project, will I be safe and all these other things? You will be safe if you intend to be safe and you put up the proper protection. That's why you need a teacher. You need someone helping you. But the purpose of astral projection is a mental liberation. The moment you get out of body, your fear of death dissolves, your fear of failure in these different aspects of life dissolves, and your ability to connect with intuitive insight and guidance increases to a level that, if you didn't have this, it wouldn't even be possible. Like, the level of peace that I walk with is profound beyond what I had before getting into the practice of astral projection.
That's fascinating. I love that. So now, again, I know you're not going to tell how to do it. But you're talking about guides and doing it, and I agree with you that it goes back in religions and philosophies and believe there's this one, whatever you want to call this source, God, God within, and all that kind of things. So, in your time of doing it, did you know who was going to help you and guide you? Did you go, I'm going to take this path, or did the path find you?
Funny enough, the path did find me. Yes, it's interesting you would say that. I merely opened the door for it. I merely said, I want to experience, I want to go farther in this. When I was younger, I was deep into meditation, deep into hypnosis, because I knew that our truest power existed in the mind.
Mhm.
Somehow I needed to get connected with what was already within me. One of the problems I feel like people kind of get wrapped up in is this idea that what they need is external. What they need has to be obtained somewhere else. They have to travel somewhere else to get it. Now, there is some credence to this. You know, if someone is really powerful, moving spiritually, go and see them. Sure, it's fun. But everything you need can be attained here in this present moment. And I feel like operating out of that is what helped me to reach these different states.
It's beautiful.
And
And I
and
know,
yes, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
no,
will
go.
give techniques and teach. I'm here to teach. That's my thing. If I don't give you techniques and teach, I'm not doing the right thing.
No, I am fascinated, and I know you're very Gnostic in your work, and finding that the God, you are the God within, which is the first thing I always teach, and things, and how religion has got things a little messed up along the way.
Mm,
So, if somebody was like going, okay, I need to know more about this. So if I have all the answers, what does that mean?
mm. If you have all the answers, you started this journey so that you could learn more about yourself. You know, this interesting paradox of life is that we come here knowing everything, but we have to remember it. There's a concept in philosophy, I believe it was started by Plato, called anamnesis. It's learning through recollection. And so that's what I try to ingrain in people's minds. You know this information already. I'm not teaching you anything you don't know. I'm just jogging your memory. That's why they say it's awakening and enlightenment.
Now, you mentioned once already opening a door. It's
Mhm.
opening the door that it's already here. Everything is already here and it's opening a door. What does that mean?
Well, intention is a very powerful thing. When you open the door with your intention, you're basically saying, in the Bible, obviously, it says, you know, knock and the door will be open. You know, I refer to different religious texts all the time because I feel like they're a retelling of the same story, you know,
Mhm.
different spices for the same dish. Uh, when you're opening a door, you're saying, I want these experiences. And you have to be very specific. Sometimes you can say things that are negative and invite things in that you don't intend. And, you know, this is why warding and protection spells and things like that are useful. But things as simple as intention are the foundation of magic. When I teach people magic, I say that what you want to do is focus on imagination, your ability to focus and visualize, and your intention. Those are the two most powerful things. Everything else in magic, I believe, is predicated on those two things. If you can visualize and focus the fog light of your mind into a beam, then you will have the power to create what you want to create and cause that change.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So, it's all again, it's intent, it's manifestation. But again, a little bit, you believe really we can manifest most anything that we believe
Mm,
we can, as do I. And you talked about these other worldly beings and deities, and that all these different religions are very
mhm,
much the same. Do you
mhm.
have specific out there beings? Do you, like, we're looking at angels, angelic realm, of the more Islamic realm, Christian
Mhm.
realm, ET realm,
Yeah, I've
all of
I've
this.
done some dealing with a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
I had my initial start with more angelic beings, and then moved over to some of the more Islamic known beings that you'd call jinn, or
Mhm.
you know, these three-dimensional entities they would call them oftentimes. And then I've moved on to, you know, like working with the Hindu gods as well. I found their energy, and surprisingly, also these ETs or aliens, these sort of things, Anunnaki people will call them. And all of this spirit communication, the spirit work for me started in educating myself. And I tell people all the time, don't take my word for it. Find these texts in these different spiritual traditions, find these practices because they lead to what I'm talking about. And you can find that if you look at it exegetically, you can find this information. I started looking at ancient Egypt after spending some time with the apocryphal text in Christian lore. And now this is really interesting because you look at something as popular in the West as Christianity, and the Bible as it is has been mangled and things have been removed and omitted and changed. And they leave out critical books that could change the overall narrative. And so I said to myself, I want to know what those books are. And so I started to look at those apocryphal scriptures, and the Jesus in those removed books is entirely different than the one presented. He is so much more agnostic, so much more in tune with nature and this paganistic spirituality, believes in reincarnation, believes in manipulating energy and manifestation, but they kept those things out. The Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, they did a lot of this cleaning up and sweeping up of these more Gnostic and Hermetic teachings. That led me to try to figure out what it was exactly that Jesus was learning. If you look in those scriptures, those apocryphal texts, you'll see that he went to Egypt and he learned in the mystic schools in Egypt. And he learned things like how to communicate with animals, how to communicate with spirits, how to hear the voice of God, and some of these really amazing things that would be very useful for us today that are just left out. Uh, but in that learning from Egypt, that was the connection point. I saw that, okay, the Islamic world learned from Egypt. Jesus learned from Egypt. Maybe I should focus a little more on that. And I started to see in Egypt there are the pyramid texts, the texts that are buried with the pharaohs in the pyramids, and there's the Book of the Dead, where they talk about the afterlife and the transition. In the Book of the Dead, I found information about the Ka, Ka. Now, this is the idea of this separate entity, this spirit, and I've got videos on it on my channel where I go in depth. But there is a spirit that is with us from birth. In Thelema, they call this spirit the guardian angel.
Mhm.
And so now we start to see the interweavings of these different practices. The Ka is meant to guide us in the afterlife. It's that guiding spirit. And I believe the Ka is what I met when I was pulled out of my body. I met this guiding spirit. I wasn't ready at that time to converse with it, but I was aided by it. And other people have told me, yeah, I've been pulled out of my body as well. I've had this strange experience. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what this thing was until I encountered it face to face, and I had a conversation, quote unquote, with it, if you will. Um, I have a tendency to talk a whole lot.
Good,
So,
talk away. I am intrigued.
okay,
I'm enthralled. If I tell you to shut up, shut up. No, keep going. Because
perfect.
again, this fits in so much with my belief system, which that
Mm,
doesn't matter to anybody, this or that. And my teacher, one of my mentors and teachers way back, I was already into my little pagan witchy world, but he was Maximilian de Lafayette, who was all about the Anunnaki. He spoke ancient Sumerian. He spoke 21 languages. And I've done some work in using just those words and languages and came up with an entirely different world and species. So I'm
mm.
just thrilled having you on my show to learn. So talk away.
That reminds me of Enochian magic and a whole system of magic that was given by angels,
Yes.
directly by angels. And so it's very interesting. And I want to talk more about the uses of different angelic words or ancient languages for the use of magic, for the use of transmutation of reality. But I had this experience. Uh, I spent the entire day in prayer, in meditation, focusing on this energy that I was talking about earlier, building it up and kind of resting in it, residing in it. Later on that night, I woke and I was intending to get up, get a drink of water, and I wake up to the sound of this voice. At the time, I was sleeping on a couch, and I hear this voice: "We are temples for God. We must be holy as He is holy." I hear it over and over and over again. And I look over, and on the other side of the room, there's someone pacing back and forth, and they're shining, they're just sparkling. And my mentor had tons of stories about this, and he had encountered many crazy things, and I was always wishing I could. I was always waiting. And so when this happened, I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's finally happening. I was terrified, of course. And, it's pacing back and forth, saying the same thing over and over again. And it notices that I'm aware of it. And so it turns and looks at me. And when it does, I see it sparkle and its features and it's glowing and lighting up. And it says, "You are a sun." And it blinks from the other side of the room right next to me, slams its hands down on my chest. And as it says sun, I'm filled with that energy again. Those electric currents. It was like I was holding on to a live wire. And it was crazy intense to the point where I always preface because it's rather crazy. The point where I started to lift up off of the couch and I'm screaming my head off. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. No one else hears anything. And I'm up off of the couch and I start to move up to the ceiling and I say, hold on, like I'm not ready for this. Like, this is too much, and I come right back down and I stay on the couch there. I stay there like that until the sun comes up. And, I'm sweating, drenched, and, terrified. I go right to my journal, write things down. And from that moment, my ability to turn this energy on and off or to tap into it was instant, easy. And I started to encounter this being over and over and over again. Every time I'd wake up throughout the day, I would hear it, it would speak to me. There were points where it got so strange that I had to start testing it. So it would tell me things about people. I'd hear this voice and it would tell me something about someone I was talking to. And I said, fine, I'll see what it's about. Let's see. And I tell them, hey, I feel like you're going through this, you're having this experience, your heart is kind of, moving in this direction. You're trying to make a decision. Here's this information to help you. And I'll be like, oh my God, how did you know that? Connection with this intuition that I feel like we have to get connected to. I feel like that being that I encountered, there is an entity like that, a guardian angel like that for all of us that we have to connect with. And my work, what I do, what I'm prized and I'm pleased to be doing is helping people connect to these sources so that they can live in that themselves.
That's beautiful. So whatever you want to call it, your Ka, your guardian angel, your alien, your whatever along the way.
Mhm.
So meditation is a big part of your practice. I take it into your astral travel training and things. And I know that you do ritual magic too. So how does ritual magic fit into your philosophy, your belief system, your actions and things like that? I am big on ritual magic for a million reasons, but let's hear yours.
Oh, I'd hope so. So I've talked a lot about the energy so far. This chills, these goosebumps that we feel, and the levels of intensity that it has. Consider this as the energy from a battery, and you're trying to get a specific job done. The ritual is like a household appliance that you plug the battery into so you can get it working, so that you can have the desired effect. Usually, if you look in grimoires, they'll call these different rituals experiments, especially with the ancient Islamic grimoires, they're experiments. The reason being is they're taking what these entities are teaching them and they're tweaking and trying to perfect them with the use of different divine names, divine words, so on and so forth. And they're applying their imagination, their visualization, and energy to them. Ritual magic for me is fundamental to what I do. Uh, it helps me to channel that energy. Sometimes, and a lot of people say this to me, is I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do when I want things to happen. What spell do I use? Yes, you can work with a spirit, you can work with an angel, you can work with an alien, whatever you want to call them. But when you use ritual, it takes the guesswork out. When you're using ritual, you're like, okay, I know these steps are going to produce something. If along the way I've got to tweak them a little bit, that's fine, but I know I'm going in the right direction.
That's beautiful. Plus, it gives it a tangibility to me. What it's doing is the
Mhm.
ritual has been done forever. Um, okay, so how does this thing you've discovered of doors opening and being able to astral travel and thing, how can we use it or our spiritual enlightenment? I get that's what we're doing. We're finding source. We are going, um, opening these doors. How can it help us in our day to day life? How does it help
Mhm.
you in our mundane life? Every day, get up and do whatever we have to do in this three-dimensional.
I try to make everything practical because we do have to be here.
Mhm.
No point in astral projecting and staying gone. We have to come back here because there's a reason. We have a purpose here. With astral projection, it is the fulcrum, the connective point to manifestation, to healing, to connection with spiritual beings. For me, it's the nexus for all of that information. I call my interactions with these beings the omnium nexus because I'm connecting with all of these different beings through astral projection. If you want to manifest more quickly, more powerfully, attract things to you that you're desiring, astral projection is a way to get beyond the limitation of the body of this physical place and draw those things to you. When it comes to health, when it comes to generating ideas as far as business goes and different things like that, I find lots of information comes from that place of astral projection. As I leave, I connect with the different spirits that control these things. I used to work with the Goetic spirits or the Jinn, depending on what name you have for them. I work predominantly with angels now, so they're big in healing. They're big in magical workings for finances and growth in that area. Astral projection is how I connect with them. One thing that people ask me is, "Hey, I want to work with Thoth. I want to work with Shiva. I want to work with, Zeus or any of these other energies, these other intelligences." What I do is I astral project, and because of my connection to this council, and I should get into them. They're very deep. That you mentioned them earlier. I connect people to the council of these beings because it seems that they reside in a council. If you look
Yes.
through religions, if you look through the different spiritual practices and traditions, there's always a group. There's always the ascended masters, the devas, the Anunnaki, the council of gods in the Bible. Even the Bible, what slipped through the cracks, Psalms 82, it says that God presides over a council of other gods. And you can see it sparse in other places. The Elohim, for instance, Elohim, the ancient Hebrew, is just many gods. That's what it means. And so you get this idea that there are many gods that preside, that guide and direct us. I started looking at the ancient Sumerian text, the Enuma Elish, and I started looking at the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Rig Vedas and things like this. I started looking at these ancient texts, and I saw this council stretched out between the different cultures. They were called the Anunnaki, they're called the Devas, they're called all these different things. But at the end of the day, if you look at it, they're all the same being. Like I said before, light shining through a prism. You get the different colors, but it's the same light, it's the same experience. And so I started to try to connect with them. I opened the door with my intention. If there's anything out there, if this council is real, if there are beings that want to encounter me that have my highest good in mind, I want to encounter them. I had an experience again with I call it the astral echo, the Ka, the guardian angel. I had another experience where it pulled me out of body and it led me up into the sky to an opening, a doorway. Uh, when I passed through this doorway, I was in a place that I could only describe as like the DMT space, a psychedelic realm where things were all kind of melding together. And this is one of the other uses of astral projection, is demonstrating the expansiveness and non-locality of our consciousness. When you astral project, you're not here in this body doing this thing. You're move your consciousness somewhere else. Your awareness is inhabiting a different body, for instance. I was in this place where everything was connected. There was this shifting kaleidoscopic place where everything was one. From that space, a being came out, like a face came out, and a hand came to touch my chest, and it sent me to another place. It was a very interesting release of energy that shot me to this what looked like an ancient hall, columns up, and it seemed like it was in an etheric place. I reached this place, and a being approached me, tall, kind of skinny, made of light looking thing, and it said to me, "What do you want?" And when I heard this, it was like I had heard the voice all my life. It was like I knew it, like I was familiar with it already. And I was like, "Oh, I know who this is." So, "What do you want?" And when it said that, I knew in that moment I could have whatever I wanted. I could ask for anything. I asked for connection. I asked for just a joining between me and these beings. I wanted open access to them. And I just said, I want connection. Whatever this is, whoever these beings are, I want to know them if they have my good at heart. And from this thing's chest came a cord that connected to my chest. It's this thing made of light that connected to my chest. And I felt this instant bliss. And I was instantly in a void. And this energy was all over me, but it wasn't like there was nothing there. It was like there was everything there, and I was connected to it. And from that time, I've been going back to this council. I've been led back numerous times, and every time there's a new being that comes forward, and it gives me a cord. And so what I do is I take these cords, these astral cords. Now it's funny because as I started to experience this, it started to click that that's what the silver cord was. Whenever people talk about astral projection, they say there is a cord that connects you to your physical body. What they don't know is that there are many cords. This is why in Reiki you have cord cutting rituals, because you're removing the different cords you've made energetically, unbeknownst to you. Apparently, you can connect many cords. And so, what I do is I take the cords given to me by these spirits and connect them to people. And people report that they have amazing encounters with these beings where they're seeing them, they're being taken. It's very interesting. I guess it's like I'm a spiritual bartender.
I love that. Who does want
Yeah.
I love that. And again, I have been to the council. I have seen and experienced the chords and all that. And you explain it so beautifully well and in such an open way. And I agree wholeheartedly that humans messed up religion in every form. So why do you think we're coming back to it now? And in many different paths in many different ways. And many with I even have a school where all my teachers have different things, and I want
Mm.
you there. Just saying. Um, but
Let's see.
um, but why do you think are we going through a different time now? Are we going through an awakening? What is your philosophy on all of that? Or is it here or there? Are we, making a big decision right now?
I feel like I should point out more of the importance. Astral projection is the removal of blockages. It's
Yes.
the removal of the Maya or the illusion. You talk about opening your third eye. This is like opening the whole body, opening yourself to light. And so oftentimes when I astral project, I get visions. I'm taken on these shamanic journeys. And one of them is a shamanic journey where I saw the passages of time as light being blocked. And so I saw just this beam of light, and there was darkness blocking this light, almost like layers of darkness. Every decade or so, every century or so, we're breaking down these different barriers of light, and we're moving farther and farther along our trajectory. And what's happening is we're reaching a place where we're at breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. So there's a quickening right now in the spirit where people are tapping into this power quite serendipitously, just naturally, spontaneously. They're having moments of enlightenment, moments of connection, and they don't know what's going on. I feel like we're all waking up because it's the time for it. It's the time for us to raise into a higher level of operation.
I agree. And isn't it more needed than ever? Because I don't know that everybody is doing that. There's a whole faction of the planet willing
Unfortunately.
to keep, becoming
Yeah.
the zombies phoned in,
Mm.
sleep at the wheel along the way. So this is so beautiful. Um, I I don't even know where to go with this. I have like you're gonna have to come back before we go because I don't want to
Of
ask this.
course.
I want to ask this. Um, so yeah, you work with different deities and different from the jinn to the angelic realm to all the because again, it's the spirit. It's to me, I look at things as vibration by high vibrational beings as
Mm.
on different realms of things. Um, do you go like, okay, I need this kind of thing, I should work with the angelic realm, or I need this kind of thing, I should go to the Anunnaki, or I'm going to work with
Mm.
Jinn on this one.
Mm.
Or do they, and I know that first time they picked you, do you now going, I'm going to go this ritual
Mm.
I'm going to do is going to be, I'm going to use these words and these.
Mm. I'm glad that you mentioned vibration because there is we say that there are different names, but these spirits have let me know numerous times that there isn't a name, there isn't an identity that they hold. They are energy, and they will represent themselves because they've worked with different people groups. And so, you get these different Norse entities that will have worked with different people groups, and so this is just an energy that they're accustomed to, and they've given it a name. You don't need names when you cross over into that place. If anything, it's a hindrance. But when I want to work with a specific energy for a specific goal, I know that I need to point my intentions toward that. My teaching in magic came from a gentleman in Lebanon. He reached out to me through YouTube. He said, "Hey, you found this." And since finding him, I found other groups of people who found me on YouTube and they're like, "Hey, we like what you're talking about. You're so close. Let us help you the rest of the way." And they've given me these ancient books that haven't been translated, that have been in their family, and they're like, "Hey, use these names, call these spirits. We have access to these spirits. They like us. Here, use this, use these names." In using them, I've experienced some of the most powerful connections. And I've actually seen things appear before me as I recite these things. I may have to recite them for an hour, but after that hour, this thing actually manifests and I'm seeing it. So it's very interesting. There is credence that can be given to the ritual, to the practice, to the names in particular. One of the names that I use and that I give away quite freely because I want people to see how powerful it is Itom Vadum. Itom Vadum. And this is something that I was given. It ignites the energy, it just starts it up right there. It's like it opens you up so that you can receive it. You did say that not everyone is connecting, not everyone is waking up, and that's unfortunate. Uh, the reality is that lots of people are like a fist holding a sponge, and they're trying to get water into that sponge so they can start doing work. The problem is their ego is so tight, they're so attached to this physical, materialistic reality that they're not getting any flow. They have to release the grip so that you can fill the sponge. So when you relax the ego, when you let go of this tired and exhausted sense of self that you hold on to all the time, it's going to be there when you go back to it. You can let it go for a little while. You'll start to connect with all these different things because the ego is a limiting source. It's the limbic system. It's teaching you what is and what isn't. That's the science of it. I know that this is a snake and this is a piece of bread. I know which one not to mess with, and such and so on. When you learn to relax that egoic hold, then you start to get these things happening spontaneously. And I feel like that's what people are doing. They're learning to relax into the moment and let go of the ego.
Beautiful. Okay, I am looking at the clock now and I'm going crazy. So you're gonna have to
Oh,
promise to come back. But before we go, please, I know my producer Rob has been putting up, tell people where they can find you, both online and in life, and if you have any events coming up or how we could all keep in touch, where they can find your book, your YouTube, and things like that. Because there's
absolutely.
someone I know.
You can find me right here at the website, astralmindfoundation.com. You can also find me on YouTube, Cal Melkez, TikTok. If you Google it, the book is Connecting the Current. You can find that on the website and on Amazon. It takes you through how to connect, how to make these connections with spirits, how to start working magic, how to free your mind so that you can actually tap into these things, and basically how to awaken your inner God. And so I think it's a powerful resource that everyone needs to get in touch with.
I agree wholeheartedly. Well, thank you, Cal. Thank you for bringing your beautiful and so needed right now magic to the witching hour. Any last words for everybody before we go?
I feel like there are people that are going to listen to this and they're going to be slightly confused. And to dispel that confusion, I've been hearing it over and over and over again. The placebo effect is just a word given to a phenomenon. All we do in our society is ascribe words to things. The placebo effect that people experience is a type of magic. It's like the backbone of all this magic, your mind creating change, mind over matter. Start focusing on the power of your mind and your imagination, and all these things will open up to you.
Perfect. And beautifully sent. And again, I agree. See, that is magic. The pretend pill that makes you better when it's sugar pill work. And it is
Mhm.
all here. It's all
Yeah.
here. So thank you for stating that so beautifully. You guys check him out. Cal Melkez, YouTube. There's lots of stuff on there. Follow him and come back again soon. Okay. And
I
I do
would
want
love
to
to.
talk about my school. Because this is an area that we have not gone very much in the way that you teach it. So thank you,
Mhm.
Cal, and I will see you very soon.